Alright, here we have some more DVDs and tapes. First off here I have all my music related DVDs and tapes. So I'll just go through this stuff really quick. Right here I actually have a couple of Blondie's albums on cassette, which I thought were cool. And then I have just some random music tapes and DVDs going on here. Mostly Blondie, Debbie Harry related stuff. Blondie is my favorite band, so I just like to collect anything related to it. Right here is one of my favorite music tapes, the Best of Blondie tape, and this is just a collection of all their videos. This tape came out in the 80s, so it's just really cool. This is like a vintage old tape, so I just think this is really awesome. It's got the same cover as the Greatest Hit that came out along this same time too, which I have on cassette. And I also have it on CD right here. The Best of Blondie CD. And I have it on record too, so I have this on 4 different formats. I got the tape, the cassette, the CD, and the record. So just an awesome record here and an awesome VHS tape. Just got some great videos on it. Right here, this is the Blondie E to the Beat VHS tape. This is kind of hard to find, and this actually has a music video for every song off their album E to the Beat, which is a really good album from them. It has their song Atomic on it, which is a classic Blondie song right there. And I have a couple Blondie live tapes. I have a couple movies that have Debbie Harry in them, like Intimate Stranger. I have on tape. Got this cool Clash tape. This is Video Clash. Clash are a really cool English punk band. It's a cool video collection right here. This is a Morrissey VHS collection of all his videos, and if you don't know, Morrissey was the singer from the Smiths. It's a really cool tape here. A couple Talking Heads related tapes, like their live concert Stop Making Sense, which I don't have on DVD, so it's the only way I have to watch this right now. Got this cool New Order tape, which this is an early concert from New Order. They're an 80s synth pop band from when they first started, so this is a really interesting tape. And then over here, last is just the DVDs I have, and again I got the Blondie video collection on DVD. I have some Blondie live stuff and some movies with Debbie Harry in them. Like this pack right here has Intimate Stranger on it on DVD, so I have that on DVD too on that pack. And right here, actually last, but definitely not least, is my Smiths video collection. The Smiths are one of my favorite bands, and this is just a cool video collection. Alright, so that's it for my music related stuff right there. But next off, here we have my Hammer horror DVDs, which are just kind of randomly placed here. Probably not the best spot for them because they're clamped in between my CDs and my music DVDs, so it's kind of a random spot for them. But I had extra space on my CD shelf, so I figured I would use it, and I have a bunch of Hammer films, so I figured why not use it to show off my Hammer DVDs. And I have a ton of Hammer DVDs. It would take me 10-20 minutes just to go through these alone, so I don't want to waste too much time doing that. But I have a bunch of Hammer horror stuff, and most of Hammer stuff is hard to find and expensive, especially the Anchor Bay releases, which I'll try to show some of those off. I got Scars of Dracula, the 2-disc special edition of this one. Some of the Mummies movies, the Mummy's Shroud, Mummy's Tomb, The Abominable Snowman. This one is very expensive. And Twins of Evil. This was actually just released by Synapse recently as a Blu-ray DVD combo pack, but you can also get the DVD separate, which I thought was awesome. I actually just ordered another Synapse Hammer release, Hands of the Ripper, which is a Jack the Ripper type movie, so I'm looking forward to getting that one and watching that one. So yeah, that's all my Hammer though right there. I love Hammer horror. Probably my favorite classic horror to watch is Hammer horror. I just really love their stuff. Probably my favorite thing from them is their first Frankenstein movie, The Curse of Frankenstein, but they have so many great titles that it's really hard to say. Their Dracula series is probably their best series, So if you want to get into that, that's probably a good place to start with their Dracula series, because it goes throughout their whole, because the Hammer started out in the 50s and they went all the way through the early 70s, and the Dracula and their Frankenstein series, along with their Mummy series too, all go throughout that whole time. So it's fun to watch, to see it progress, I guess. Alright, and next up I'm just going to show you guys my CD collection real quickly, or at least try to. Here's my CD collection. So like I said, it's right underneath my Hammer DVDs is where it starts off, and I'll show you guys the first 3 shelves in this one, but I have 2 more shelves of CDs down further, which I'll have to readjust the camera angle to show those a little bit better. But I'll show you guys what I got going on right here. And I love music. I'm in a band with my friend Joel, Microwave Radiation Victims. You can look it up. I'll leave a link for it actually in the description for this video. You guys can check it out. I actually have a separate YouTube channel for our band, which is called Microwave Radiation Victims, so you can check it out. So I'm a big music fan. I've been collecting music since I was in high school, so as long as I've been collecting horror DVDs, I've been collecting music on music CDs. So I also have a record collection, which I plan to do a video one time, probably be like a 2-3 part video where I go through my entire record collection, but I actually won't be showing any of my record collection off in this video. I just don't have time for that. I don't want the video to be that long. But I'm just going to go through what I have in my CD collection real quickly, just so you guys can get a better idea of the type of music I like or whatever. So first off here, I have all my Velvet Underground stuff. They're probably my favorite band. Them and Blondie are my 2 favorite bands. This is the deluxe edition of their first album, the Velvet Underground and Eco, which is my favorite album from them. Just such a good album. Every song is great on that album. I also have the deluxe edition of their second album, White Light, White Heat, which is another album I would highly recommend. It's a lot more underrated than their first album. You don't hear people talk about it as much, but it's really good. It's almost just as good. Velvet Underground's third album, and then I have some Lou Reed stuff, Transformer, Rock and Roll, Animal, which is a live album. I have Coney Island Baby from him. I got one of Nico's album. She was on the first Velvet Underground album. This is The End. They cover the Doors song, The End, on this. Definitely creepier than the Doors version. This is a Mo Tucker collection. Maureen Tucker, she was drummer in the Velvet Underground. Then I have my Stooges CDs. I got their 3 albums, The Stooges, Funhouse, and Raw Power. My favorite is probably Funhouse, but it's really hard to pick out of those 3. Then I have my whole David Bowie collection, which I have all David Bowie's albums, starting from Space Oddity all the way up to Let's Dance. So all the way up to his 80s stuff. So I have a bunch of David Bowie albums. He's one of my favorite musicians, songwriters, singers. He's just the man. Bowie's the complete package when you're looking for good music. And this is probably my favorite Bowie album, Heroes, but it's really, really hard to say. I would also highly recommend Scary Monsters to anybody, and also probably Station to Station. Those are probably some of my favorites from him. Right, and then next up on this row of CDs, I have my Blondie stuff, which, like I've said before, Blondie's another one of my favorite bands. I have all of their albums remastered on CD. I hope one day that they put out some really nice 2-disc releases of all Blondie's albums, because I would love to pick those up. I got this really cool release of Blondie's newest album. Comes with a greatest hit of them redoing some of their old songs, and it also comes with a live DVD of them playing live at CBGB's from back in the late 70s. Just a really awesome little package here of Blondie greatness. But I have tons of Blondie CDs. Don't even really want to get into it because it'll take too long, but I have tons of Blondie stuff. I also have some of Debbie Harry's stuff. This is their first solo album, Cuckoo. Highly recommend this if you like Blondie's stuff, especially their 80s stuff. This album is just right up there. Really good stuff. Got some of my Ramones CDs going on here, which I love the Ramones. Right now, this is probably my favorite Ramones album, Too Tough to Die. Been listening to that one a lot lately. I got my Talking Heads CDs next, which haven't been listening to Talking Heads too much right now, but I would say probably like 4 or 5 years ago, they're like my all-time favorite band. I was listening to them every day, so I guess I'm just taking a little bit of a break from them. But this is my favorite album from them, Remain in Light, just a masterpiece in the type of music that was being made in the early 80s. New wave masterpiece right there. And then I have Tom Tom Club's first album. This is a Talking Head spin-off band in a way, but just a great band on their own. Then I got my B-52 stuff, which I love the B-52s. My favorite albums from them are probably Bouncing Off the Satellites, which this is a really good album, and their classic album, Cosmic Thing, which you can find at every pawn shop and every thrift store that exists, so it's so worth picking up that album, because it's so easy to find. And I also have this cool B-52 CD collection that comes with all of their albums. Actually, the one reason I picked this up is because it has their album Whammy, which I'm having a hard time finding on CD, so I picked it up just for that album, basically. But at the time, I didn't have Bouncing Off the Satellite, so I picked it up for that reason too. So, alright, next here, I'll just show you guys the third row of my CDs. Going to go through this a little bit quicker if I can. I got my Joy Division stuff going on here. This is kind of like my post-punk row right here. I got my Joy Division and New Order stuff. I also have my albums from Cos Product, a really awesome French new wave band. Some weird stuff there. So I got my Joy Division and New Order. Best Joy Division album, 100%, is Unknown Pleasures. I also have the original factory record of this. Super excited about that. But I have all Joy Division's albums. They made 2 albums, and after the band broke up, their lead singer passed away. Actually, they released 2 collections, Still and Substance, which I have both of those. And I also have all New Order's albums up to their collection Substance, which came out in like 88 or 89. So I have all New Order's 80s CDs, which New Order is really great too. I would definitely recommend their second album, Power, Corruption, and Lies. Great stuff. Some of the releases of this CD, I would say most of them, come with their classic 80s new wave hit, Blue Monday, which is just a great synth pop song. Just one of the best, actually. And then I have my Smiths collection, which is huge. My Smiths collection starts there, and I would say ends about there. So it's a huge chunk of this row right here. But I have all their albums, plus all their collection albums, like Louder Than Bombs on CD, plus The World Won't Listen. Really cool collection right here. My favorite studio album from the Smiths, for anyone who's never heard of them, I would definitely recommend the Meat is Murder album that they put out. Just a really great album. And I also have some of their harder to find CDs too, like their Stop Me single release or EP, whatever you would call it. This is really hard to find and has some tracks that are hard to get on CD. So glad I have that. I also have the Sheila Take a Bow single. Again, sorry about the glare. Just a lot of rare stuff. With the Smiths, they have tons of CDs to collect, so they're a great band to collect. And then after the Smiths, I have my Cure CDs, which the Cure is alright. I'm actually not as big into them as I used to be, but my favorite album from the Cure is definitely the first one, Boys Don't Cry. Which this album has like been released with 2 different album orders with 2 different covers, but this is the definitive version in my opinion. But another album I love from the Cure is their album Faith, which is like their 3rd album. It's good stuff. And yeah, so that's about it for that row. So that's mostly like my post-punk related bands. So I'm just going to adjust the camera and show you guys my last 2 rows of my CD collection. Alright, but right here I have some Rob Zombie CDs, White Zombie, and Rob Zombie's first solo album. Pretty good stuff there. That's what I have on top. And then I got Thomas Dolby, the Golden Age of Wireless album. Pretty good stuff here. It's got the classic hit, She Blinded Me with Science on it. Pretty fun new wave song there. Alright, but down here I actually have most of my punk rock CDs, which I'm really big into punk rock and 80s new wave music. And then I have a bunch of 80s stuff just on this row here. So this is my punk stuff. I got my Clash CDs, sitting over here. Try to show those a little bit better. And Sex Pistols' first album I got 2, which is awesome. Favorite Clash album is definitely Combat Rock. Just a great album from start to finish. And then I got my Misfits collection here. Best album from them is Static Age, in my opinion, even though I would also highly recommend Walk Among Us. Just great stuff. But I only really like the Danzig stuff with Misfits. They went on after Danzig left and went solo. Or first he had another band and then he went solo, but the band kind of went on after him during the 90s, and I just never really got into that stuff. But I got this Misfits album too, Legacy of Brutality. This one's kind of hard to find. Then I got the 2 collections that you see everywhere. And then I got some Black Flag CDs. My favorite Black Flag album is probably My War. Just a very strange punk rock album, very avant-garde and experimental stuff on that album. Minutemen's Double Nickels on a Dime. Great album here. This is a punk rock double album, and it's just classic. And then I got some Sonic Youth CDs going on. I actually only got 3 Sonic Youth CDs right now. Confusion is Sex. Daydream Nation, which is my favorite out of the 3 that I have. And then Goo, which is also a really cool album. I got some Devo going on here. This is an awesome Devo collection. 2-discer. Got my Go-Go's CDs going on. I'm a big fan of the Go-Go's and Belinda Carlisle. This is a really cool Go-Go's 2-disc CD collection. Return of the Valley of the Go-Go's. Return to the Valley of the Go-Go's. And then just over here I got some kind of like random stuff. Some Joan Jett. Here, I'll try to move the camera a little bit there. Got some Joan Jett, Billy Idol, Pretenders, Nina, 99 Love Balloons, Berlin, Depeche Mode, Flock of Seagulls, Adam and the Ants, and Bow Wow. So just a lot of Bow Wow Wow. Bow Wow. Bow Wow Wow is a cool 80s new wave band. So yeah, this is that was that row, and now I'm just gonna go through this bottom row real quick for you guys. Down here is probably some of my weirder music, which is saying a lot because I own a lot of weird music. But this is my 60s and 70s stuff. So this is some of the stuff down here is like progressive rock music, which I'm a big fan of too. This is George Harrison's album Electronic Sounds. It's one of the first solo albums like a Beatle ever put out, and this is just 40 minutes of like synthesizer experimentation. So just really strange album here from George Harrison, one of the coolest Beatles. So here, I'll try to show you guys what I got going on. First off, here we have some of my 60s stuff. I'm a big fan of Phil Spector's production work, like just the stuff he produced and put out in the 60s. Really good stuff. This is a Phil Spector collection. This is a collection from the Ronettes, which Phil Spector produced and put together that whole thing. I have some Supremes albums. I'm kind of into that like whole Motown stuff. I like all that. And then I got some Bob Dylan going on here. My favorite Bob Dylan album is probably John Wesley Harding. Just classic stuff. But I would also highly recommend Nashville Skyline. This is like country Bob Dylan, basically. Different than the stuff he was doing in the mid-60s. And then this is another Bob Dylan album I would highly recommend. The Basement Tapes, just really good recordings from him and the band, just in a basement doing recordings. So there's no like studio or big thing involved in this. This was just them kind of jamming out and, you know, wherever they were at the time. So it's just an interesting album. Got some of my King Crimson CDs, another one of my favorite bands, favorite King Crimson album. I actually don't have over here right now, but it's Red. But another one of my favorite albums from them is Lark's Tongues and Aspic. Just great stuff. They're a crazy progressive rock band. Their most famous album is In the Court of the Crimson King. Just an awesome cover art on that, and just a great progressive rock CD. Probably one of the most classic prog rock albums ever. We're talking about classic prog rock. I got my Genesis CDs going on, and right now Genesis is one of my favorite bands, and I know a lot of you are probably thinking like 80s Genesis, Invisible Touch, really. That's like your favorite band, one of your favorite bands, but I really love the stuff they did with Peter Gabriel, who also in the 80s had a successful solo career. And during the 70s, Genesis was the best. They were just the coolest prog rock band around. That's all I can say. So if you're into stuff like that, highly recommend Nursery Crime right here. Just a classic album. I would highly recommend listening to the musical Box, Return of the Giant Hogweed. Just great tracks. And then right here, this is my favorite album from classic Genesis, and this is Foxtrot. It's a great album right here. Peter Gabriel actually used to dress up on stage in a red dress and a fox mask. So they used to put on some of the best live shows back in the 70s. And in the 70s, that's when live stuff was the best. But this is Genesis live, and this is just a great album. That's kind of what they look like live a little bit. Probably hard to see the picture, but just an awesome looking band. And then The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, double concept album right here. This is a double album. It's a concept album. Just really, really good stuff here. This is one of their best albums, too. And then I have some of Peter Gabriel's solo stuff. So, right here, too. Got some Hawkwind CDs going on here. And got a couple of jazz albums here. Herbie Hancock's Headhunters and Miles Davis's Bitches Brew. Miles Davis album, Bitches Brew, is such an awesome album. Probably my favorite jazz album, even though it's so far away from jazz, but at the same time, it's still jazz. It's just great stuff. But, yeah, and also here we have some of my Hawkwind stuff, which, this is probably my favorite Hawkwind album, Quark, Strangeness, and Charm. And they're like a 70s prog rock band, but they deal with a lot of science fiction topics, so if you're kind of into sci-fi, I would recommend checking them out. I got some Frank Zappa CDs here. Hot Rats is probably my favorite Zappa album. Just an awesome album. I would definitely recommend checking out the song Willie the Pimp. Just a fun, hard rocking song. The Resonance album Duck Stab. This is probably the weirdest CD I have in my collection. The Resonance are just a strange band. Like, nobody knows who the actual members in the band are. They've remained basically a mystery, even though I'm sure if you're a hardcore Resonance fan, you know, but this band is completely strange and completely weird, like even the way their music sounds, just definitely not for everybody there, but I enjoy it. Then I have, and then after that I have some more, like, strange avant-garde music, like Henry Cow. They're a really cool avant-garde band from the 70s. Probably one of my favorites. I have all their albums, and then a couple albums from Fred Frith, who was the guitarist in Henry Cow. So that is it for the CD collection, though. And next up, and to finish this video off, I'll show you guys my VHS shelf. Alright, and this is the last stop on the journey that is my collection. And in this part, I'm gonna show you guys my VHS collection. And again, I'll have to adjust the camera to show you guys the other parts of this, but I'll show you guys the first two rows with the way I got the camera set up right now. So the top of this right here, I have some awesome tapes which I'll go through, and I got this cool Freddy figure right here that you might have seen in the background of some of my videos. I actually forgot the name of this, but you can actually take like the Freddy costume off of this figure, and it's like a normal person underneath. Pretty cool. I think it was like Action Max or some crap like that, where like the guy dressed up as different things, like a fireman or whatever, and they were gonna make one series where he had monster costumes, and they only put a Freddy one out. So this is from like the early 90s or something like that. Really cool here. And I got this awesome Elvira tape right here. This is her movie, The Mistress of the Dark. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Just a really cool movie, really fun. Has a very fun vibe to it. Just a fun movie to watch. And then this I actually just picked up recently. This is the Repo Man soundtrack on cassette. Really cool. Awesome science fiction movie, Repo Man. Like a punk rock sci-fi movie. Alright, so here I have some of my horror DVDs and some other stuff. This is probably where I display some of my favorite stuff, I guess. Over here I have some of my big box tapes. I have a couple episodes of the original Transformers cartoon in big box tapes. Then I got Cocaine Cowboy, which is a film with Andy Warhol in it. Which I still have to get around to watching this. Probably awesome though. I got this Giallo movie, generically called the Slasher. Still haven't seen this either. Looking forward to checking this out one of these days. Really nice box art on this. Probably the nicest looking big box tape I own. And I got some other stuff going on here. I got some special editions of The Evil Dead. This is the first one. And I got the gold special edition of Army of Darkness. Dario Argento's Phenomena on tape. So I got Return of the Living Dead here. And then I have some of my George A. Romero films over here. So I got a couple copies of Day of the Dead. Actually, 3 copies of Day of the Dead on tape. This is probably my favorite one, though. Great cover art on this. And I also have 2 copies of Dawn of the Dead. This is a really nice looking VHS tape right here. And a couple copies of Night of the Living Dead also. Thought this one was fun with the cartoon cover. And then I also have this pretty cool 25th anniversary collector set. 2-disc tape set of Night of the Living Dead. I love the box art on this. Just think it looks cool. This is actually pretty damaged. The case is water damaged, and one of the tapes is broken too. But I found it at a thrift store for like $1, so I bought it anyways. So I do stuff like that sometimes. I got this cool old school copy of The Evil Dead on tape. And Halloween 3, or just Halloween 3. Cool stuff right there. Right, next up, I'll show you guys this row the best I can. As you might be able to tell, this row is actually double layered, and unlike the other rows, I'm not going to go in and show you guys what I have behind, just because it would just really take too long. I've actually done a video where I just show my horror VHS tapes off, so I'll put a link to that in the description for this if you want to see my collection a little better, because I'll show the rest. But I would say I have my best horror tapes up front anyways. So the top row is horror movies. There's a row underneath this which is all sci-fi, and then the last row is just kind of random. So I'm going to go through and show all these just very, very quickly. I'll try to. So right here you see I got some of my Halloween movies, some of the Evil Dead movies. I got the whole Friday the 13th series on tape. Got Nightmare on Elm Street 2-tape collector's set, which I think is cool. Really nice. And an episode of Freddy's Nightmares on tape. And Suspiria on tape. And then Frozen Terror, which is a Lamberto Bava movie. So those are cool. And then up here I got Maximum Overdrive, Stephen King directed movie. A couple other things. So yeah, I'm just going to readjust the camera a little bit so I can show you guys my science fiction tape collection real quickly and my random stuff. This is the sci-fi row right here, and then down here is the random stuff, I guess. So first off, I'm just going to show you guys, I guess, what I have on top. Actually, I don't have anything too interesting on top here, except I got Trancers 2 on tape, which I think is pretty cool. And I also have this release of one of the episodes from Amazing Stories. Steven Spielberg produced like science fiction anthology show. Alright, and then here we got my Blade Runner collection, which I have I think 5 or 6. Yeah, I have 6 different releases of Blade Runner on tape, and they're all different in their own way, so I have a reason to have them all in a sense, I guess. But these are really cool. My favorite release of Blade Runner on tape, which was the first copy I bought on tape, is this one right here. And this is actually the original theatrical cut, the extended cut of the original theatrical cut, so it's not the director's cut release. Then I have a couple releases of the director's cut on tape too that are all different for one reason or another. And then I have the whole Alien series on tape, which is really cool. Love the Alien films. I got Predator 1 and 2. I got this really cool screener preview tape of the first Predator movie. Got the whole Scanner series on tape. And some of my other David Cronenberg stuff right here. So I got Scanners 2. I got 2 copies of Scanners 3 because one of them doesn't work too good. Scanner Cop and Scanners The Showdown, which is also known as Scanner Cop 2 sometimes. Then I got Videodrome on tape, which is awesome. This is one of my favorite movies ever. The Fly and Naked Lunch, which is cool too. But just like the top row, I have a whole row of sci-fi tapes behind this. I would say some of the ones that I think are the coolest. I got Highlander 1 and 2 back there. I also have Icon Peace, which is an awesome 80s sci-fi movie. It might be early 90s sci-fi action movie. Alright, but just down here, I'll show you guys what I have in my last row of tapes. And again, this is double layered again, so I'm not going to go into what I have behind these ones, but I don't have too much. I know I have the Star Wars movies back there and some of the Indiana Jones movies, just some movies like that. Like I got some of the Batman movies and Ninja Turtles movies, so a lot of generic 80s, 90s movies back there. But right here, this is Strike Commando, really awesome straight-to-video 80s movie starring Red Brown. This is Elephant Man, which I showed off in, I think, my most recent update video. Then I have just a bunch of Power Ranger tapes. I got Mummies Alive, which was a cartoon from the 90s, or late 90s, I think, which is pretty cool. Beetleborgs tape, which is kind of like a Power Ranger related thing. I got some of these earlier Power Ranger tapes over here, which I think look really nice. And then over here, I got First Blood on tape, which is the first Rambo movie. And Gremlins, Citizen Kane, which is a classic. I'm sure everybody's seen that at least once. And River's Edge is down here too. So I just got a lot of random stuff down here. It goes from Power Rangers to movies like River's Edge. So just whatever I didn't really have room for anywhere else, I put back here. But behind this, I got Apocalypse Now, Jaws, like I said, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, which I also have one of the coming out of their Shells tour or whatever it's called, which is ridiculous. And I got the RoboCop cartoon back there, some Simpsons stuff, so just a lot of random stuff back there too. One day maybe I'll go through it better, but for now I think that was good enough, because this video is already going on for about an hour, so I don't know, I'm probably going to split this up in a couple parts, but by the time you guys are watching this, you'll already be split up, so you'll know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope it worked out good. I hope all the cuts and having to change the camera angle didn't make this confusing or unwatchable for some reason. But it was the easiest way I can think of to film this right now, because the only good camera I have to film right now is my webcam, so it was just the one way I felt like to do it the best, I guess. So I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, of course, leave a thumbs up or leave a comment, and thanks for watching.